if anything, Fergie's got more in common with their guys at the very top than the part-time ones.
It can get naughty at times, but as players, every player after it is like blown away if they've never played in it before.
Were you a good cop and Lenny was bad cop?
I would say that Lenny and myself, we were both bad cops.
Who's the maddest goalie you played with?
Pretty easy.
Is it just easy, is it? Welcome to the warm-up, brought to you by William Hill, a proper supporter of the SPFL. Delighted to say the usual co-pilot is in the chair, Stephen Naismith. He's even brought some baked goods along. We said on last week's show he's been off. He's been using his time out of football wisely. Been putting in a wee shift at the local bakery.
Yeah, Big Bear Bakery, and brought some goods. If you're flagging the day, just get a bit of sugar in you.
That's incredible, seriously. I am so impressed by that, as were many of the viewers.
I don't like the reaction for everybody that can't believe I'm doing it.
So surprised. David Marshall and Johan Mjällby, two top guests as well. I can't believe I introduced the croissants before you two. Please don't take offence, but you'll be surprised as anyone that this guy is producing this type of work, surely.
Yeah, I thought he was taking a mickey first, you know. But they look really, really nice, you know. I need some sugar in me.
Yep.
I think he is lying. I think he's just bought
Doing it at the local baker.
Do you know, I felt really bad last week when I made a joke about you not needing a hairnet. I just didn't know if we knew each other quite well enough, and I got excited about our relationship, and I maybe pushed it.
Nah, so I'm taking it in the chin.
Good. Right, well, we'll have them polished off before then. Good to see you both. How are you? You well?
Yeah, great, brilliant.
Do you make it back over now and then? What's the...
I do, yeah, quite often. I've obviously been fortunate to do a number of the Celtic games in the Champions League this season, so it's been exciting, yeah.
And Hibs are flying. David, one of the...
Yeah, the boys have done great. Tough start to the season, but at this moment in time, they're flying. We off the back of a great result again last night. So, yeah, it's going well, and big one coming up on Sunday, obviously, with the Edinburgh Derby. It
just feels like the big games just keep coming thick and fast. The storylines everywhere. Obviously, I think Rangers this week's been massive. Everything that happened, Philippe Clement going, Barry Ferguson, the Stephen Naismith derby last night when he gets his victory. What did we learn?
I must say, it's a pivotal week, I think, in general for the league, but obviously there's been a lot of comment on the change. I think the change needed to happen. Then what transpires in terms of Fergie going in with a whole new coaching staff. I've been impressed by the way he's conducted himself. I think from being a player and knowing him, he was very do anything to win, like falling out with players on the training pitch and that, but I thought his press conferences before have been good. They're going to what is arguably one of the toughest places to go. Their record's terrible over the last few years at Rugby Park, but it turned out a good night.
What was your reaction to that this week? It's quite a turn of events, wasn't it?
No, I just asked myself, will we see a reaction straight away? Yeah, we will, because of the person Barry Ferguson is, and the way he feels for the club. He's not going to let the players get away with not putting in a shift and really giving 110% for the club. But it's interesting to see the conundrum is still going to be there. Are they going to be good enough for the rest of the season to be able to open up teams when they're having the ball, when they're having possession? This has been a really, really big problem for the club. I'm not worried about the games in Europe, because they're going to take care of themselves. They like to not have too much possession, at least during Clement. We'll see now, but I definitely think we're going to see a reaction for the end of season anyway from Barry and obviously the team.
It's incredible what can happen in that 90 minutes. You go 2-0 down, he must be thinking this is the end of the world. It must have felt that way for him. Get the reaction, and you always hear people say maybe that's the managerial change that got that reaction. I mean, we'll never know, but it clearly is a good outcome in the end, isn't it?
Of course, I think everybody was looking for a reaction, and 15 minutes in, Barry was probably thinking, what's going on here? But yeah, I think what they brought in is someone who obviously knows the club, and knowing what Barry was like as a player means, Stevie, that his demands are high. And I think the staff he's brought in experienced staff in terms of Neil he's managed. Alan's obviously got the experience at that club for years, and Barry's managed as well. So I know there's a lot of talk about the inexperience, but they've brought in people that will demand for the players that Johan's touched on. And I think after 20 minutes last night, he must have been thinking, this is going to be tough. But he made the change early, which was a positive, and they've eventually come out worthy winners.
I was just thinking that Billy Dodds and Neil McCann sat in those two chairs together a couple of weeks ago. I think we somehow played up. We'll get you a coaching job by the end of this. We'll get you back in if the bakery doesn't work. That is the power of the warm up. You mentioned the change. Is that like you're straight into the firing line as a manager? You know, there's no time to bed yourself in and make easy decisions.
It's a big call.
Is it to take
massive call?
off so early?
I also think Fergie has to be pragmatic and creative in the way he deals with the squad, because, like, as a player, he would shout your head off. He would just bluntly tell you how it is. He's had to go into a squad, but the generation's different. A lot of the players won't know how good a player, what he was as a player.
Yeah.
So he's had to be good at that. But then after 30 minutes thinking, I need to make this change. But he dealt with it well. And that did make a big change, because they became more resilient. Tavernier made them more secure. And then, as I said, the second half performance, I think, is what he spoke about before. Being a team that puts teams under pressure, constantly asking them to defend, and they've done it well. But there are bigger tests coming.
Because you're right, Inciala would probably be the perfect example of he might not really know what Barry Ferguson's career was and all that sort of stuff. See, as a central defender as well, is it really tough to be in his shoes?
Yeah, not really just in his shoes. It's just the way you have to work with this generation of players. They are different, you know, and it goes quickly. Like I mean, the football in itself will always progress. That's just normal. What we know, how to train and all that. The progression is always going to be bad. The mentality though will change as well with it. You know, I'm not saying it's better nowadays. It's just different. And I was in this situation, you know, not Barry, because that was Neil Lennon, but I was Billy Dodds, and when we stepped in this kind of situation, you know, when Tony Mowbray got the sack in I think it was March 2010, you know, and we were in our mind we were only there for the rest of the season, just taking care of 8-9 league games and then the Scottish Cup as well, you know, and we did really well for the league games, because we had a win against Rangers as well, you know, because that was the torrid season results wise, but we lost in the Scottish Cup. We thought we would never get the gig again, you know, but we did, you know, and then we got the chance to obviously rebuild Celtic a wee bit, you know, and we
Even
had a
then,
number of
did
good years.
you realise the change in the generations that when you were a player,
Yeah.
you would react?
Yeah.
Did you even notice that then?
No, I did definitely, you know. I mean, back in the day when I played, I didn't feel, I can't say that we were stronger mentally, but we took defeats and disappointments in a different way, you know. I didn't speak to the loved ones, to my teammates for 4 days, you know, after a defeat, you know, more or less. And when I stepped into being an assistant manager, I thought they were the same. So it took me a wee bit, you know, of time, you know, to understand that, I mean, these guys, they're on the phone all the time, you know, these players, they care, they still care, even if they take up the phone after a defeat, you know. It's just, but my first instant reaction was, they don't care, you know.
Yeah.
I'm going to get on to them, you know, and you know, tell them, you know, this is not the way you should react after defeat. But after a while, when you calm down, you understand, you have to understand. And I think that's, to be successful in management, yeah, of course, it's a bit about coaching, but it's more about being, you know, a psychologist, you know, and to really get, you know, to understand the minds of 25 different, you know, mentalities in the squad.
Were you a good cop and Lenny was bad cop?
I would say that Lenny and myself, we were both bad cops, but we had Gary Parker and Alan Thompson. They were good cops.
Yeah.
Two bad cops. Terrible combination. You're talking about like the Barry Ferguson you guys know, played against, and national team with and stuff like that. Although from the outside it wouldn't look like it at the outset, do you think he will just see this as an addition, and why not? You know, and if you can go and win everything and you never know, try and make it something more permanent.
Of course, I don't think you can see it any other way. I think the team's been underperforming, and he's been brought in to bring that, reconnect the squad with the fans almost. But Barry will know that if results come and performances come, it will snowball when the question will be asked. As I say, these are not inexperienced guys really in football at all. He's got a lack of experience maybe at the top level in management, but he surrounded himself with a group of lads that know exactly what it takes. And he's been a manager, regardless of what level it's at. You can see he's got ambitions, and obviously known Barry well, he's an ambitious winner. So yeah, he'll see this as an opportunity to
I
perhaps this
definitely think so.
belong to him.
I think he'll. Why? It's a shot to nothing, and Neil Lennon getting the Celtic job is the exact example of it. I would also say managing part-time's different to managing Rangers. So that might have been tougher, and a part-time player has their work, and the needs and the desires of them are different to an international footballer who sleeps, breathes, everything's to do with performance at the top level. So it is two different things. If anything, Fergie's get more in common with the guys at the very top than the part-time ones. So, but for sure he'll be sitting there thinking, if we can do well here, I've got to be in with a shout of getting it full-time.
Well, you had the kind of audition, if you like. What is the
Again,
process? What did you take away from it?
For me, I was similar. That when I take over, I was probably the easiest person to take over at the time. The manager changed at Hearts, and nobody really. I would have said I wasn't in the conversation to get it permanently, and then my thought throughout process was, right, I could win every game 1-0 and play rubbish. That's probably not going to get me an opportunity, because Hearts want more than just winning, playing rubbish. I'm going to try and do things my way. We had the Derby 3 days later and we get beat 1-0, so it was a bad start. But then the next week we bet Ross County 6-1 at home, playing good attacking football. And that was the way I went down about it. But I did go into it thinking, if I do well here, I've got a chance.
What do you remember about when that call came? And you spoke about going in alongside Neil Lennon, Alan Thompson. So how did those relationships change? Because they were your teammates, and now you're teammates of a different kind, similar to Barry Ferguson, Neil McCann, Billy Dodds, the sort of the power struggles there, or how things work. What do you remember about trying to figure all that out? How do you establish that role?
No, it was easy in a way. Luckily, I had over the years I had contact with Neil. So I knew he wanted me in if he got the job as a manager. And he was already under 21 manager at the time at Celtic, so I knew. But I was still surprised when I got the phone call, and I was doing something different than I used to. And Neil just tells me, "You got 3 minutes to decide here now." It's just going to be a short-term gig. Do you want to do it? It's going to be good for experience. I don't know what's going to come out of this, but you're back at the club where you've been before, so you know a lot of the staff and the people around the players. So obviously I just said yes straight away. But it was easy to just know that Neil was the main man and the manager. So and probably looking back at it, I loved being assistant manager. And for Alan Thompson, Alan was a very, very good coach. He's different. Mentality-wise to me, I'm probably a bit more quiet, and a bit more bad cop, angry guy, and take life a bit more serious than Alan, But Tom was a great coach as well, So I think it was easy for us just, to fit in, and we had Gary Parker there as well, So, but it's just so much you can do on a short-term basis when you get the job now. And Barry will know. It's only 3 months left of the season. He's got massive games coming up, So it's not that much you can do tactically, And you're not going to get any new players in. You can't recruit any players. So you just need to work with this squad, and try to. They are obviously down in the cellar, confidence-wise, because it's not been good enough being at Rangers. The results for Rangers have not been good enough. It's just as simple as anything. So you just need to try to, get them to enjoy football a wee bit more, and just try to tweak small stuff, when it comes to the big games, But I think it's more about lifting the confidence, lifting the mood, at the club and the place for obviously the short term.
Yeah. You're now looking at bigger picture, David, in your role, and we'll get to that in more detail. But see, just even I know tactics, and there's so much goes into it, and it's so important. But see, just creating a good environment first of all, is that almost what you think is probably trying to be achieved here?
Of course, I think that comes through results. So that, especially the way that happened the other night, being 2-0 down after 20 minutes, half an hour, and winning a game 4-2. It's actually probably a better way to do it. It wouldn't be how he'd have wanted to start the game, but in terms of a reaction and getting the crowd on side, it's probably one of the better ways to do it. I think that'll be a big focus. He'll be trying to get the lads on side initially for the first couple of weeks and make it an enjoyable place to go. And I'm sure the lads will want to walk out at Ibrox and it's actually enjoyable. I don't think it's been that for months. But then you get into the big night coming up in Europe and the big 2 games. It's tactically will have to be spot on, and he'll be judged in that, and he'll know that, and he's already said that. But there's a balance. He's got some big games coming up. The Old Firm games will obviously take care of themselves. But to be the manager of Rangers, you have to do everything right. You have to be tactically spot on and build an environment where people enjoy it and want to come to work.
I'm quite interested in that actually, about almost the best way to do it. Is that because as well that they're clearly were frailties there? He's not going to walk away from last night thinking, oh, that was perfect, this is going to be a doddle. It ends well and it feels good, but you still got a major reminder of kind of what's potentially needing fixed.
Yeah, and I think, as the guys have just said there, you're not getting new players. You've got a limited time, so you can't change everything. It's about making these small steps. One, for all of us, we know confidence. How big a part does confidence play personally as an individual? Once you're confident, you just do things not even thinking and they come off. To deal with that demand, how hard can playing at the Old Firm be at home in terms of the pressure and the mentality side of it? As Marsh says, as soon as that gets to the point where the first 15 minutes are really enjoyable, again, much better place. These are all things that Barry Ferguson spoke about this week. And again, as Marsh says, the coming from behind tells you one thing, the character, and that's what you need at Old Firm. He's definitely got that out of the squad quickly. Yeah,
it was a busy midweek, Johan. We don't really have to look at Celtic reacting to defeat very often because it very rarely happens. It was David's Hibs side that did ever so well to inflict that on them at the weekend. Again, how important was it that they just bounced straight back in the way that they did?
No, it is, because it's Celtic. I mean, Stephen knows about life at Rangers. It's just, yes, yes. If you lose, it doesn't matter if you are 10, 13, 15, 16 points ahead already. You can't lose games, just the way it is. Yes, obviously the reaction is going to be different if you are many points ahead in the league and then you're going to be behind. But it still is, you need to have a reaction. And you can understand maybe against Hibs, they weren't maybe at their best because obviously the performance against Munich, which was fantastic in a way, and probably the max standard you can get from a Celtic team at the moment. So coming back after the Hibs defeat, I think it was important for them, mentality-wise and for the rest of the season. But, they are just a well-drilled machine, aren't they? Really? They are very, very good, and he doesn't need to rotate too much, Brendan Rodgers, the manager, and they know what to get, and he knows what to get, from all the players, and the pressing is very good, and they have, the speed and pace in the team. So I think the biggest difference for me from last season is that the balance is much better. I think the balance is much better. They know when to attack. In the past, they were just pressing all the time. They were just putting their heads down and just pressing. And then they got caught out sometimes, But I think especially, the back four has been much more solid this season. And that's why I think, especially in Europe, where they need to defend a wee bit more, they've been much better.
The other night, the biggest difference in that first half was their finishing.
Yeah.
And that's what they've got. They've got goals all over the pitch. The Aberdeen had 3 or 4 opportunities in the box, but didn't come to anything. Celtic have 3 chances first half, boom, 3-0, game done.
I'll tell you who doesn't eat croissants. Daizen Maeda. Not a chance. I don't know what he's feeling himself with, but it's got to be something good because he is flying, isn't it?
It goes back to that confidence. The goal that he thinks the goalie comes, he's not thinking about it, comes through, just does it. That's confidence. 25 goals. Even, I said this, I think, a few weeks ago, that see when a player leaves, it opens the door for somebody else to go, I'm going to be a bit more of the main man. I think since Kyogo's went, everybody just talks about Maeda. They're not talking about Kyogo going, which is a big statement, shows that he's wanting to be the main man, and he is at the moment.
Best player in the league, arguably.
Yeah, it's hard to argue about his goals return. I think he's relentless. He seems to be able to just constantly go in game, and he can come back for Bayern Munich and comes to Hibs. It just seems as if he doesn't ever drop his level, his energy levels, his performance levels. But yeah, I think he's a real driving force for the whole team. He's first name in the team sheet and very rarely comes off. So no, he's been phenomenal.
quite something if you can be the first name in the team sheet in more than one position, potentially.
Yeah, that's not bad. No, I just think his work rate, the way, the energy he's got is something else. I remember, working with Scott Brown, who I thought had, unbelievable stamina. But I got this, and looking at this Daizen Maeda, Jesus, some stamina and energy, and he's quick. He's very, very quick as well. I've never seen him as a natural goal scorer, though. But it just shows now with confidence, like Steven is telling us here, that with confidence you can do great things. And now it seems like he's a natural goal scorer and he can play in that central role as well. He might actually end up with a really, really good return with Kyogo going to Rennes and then Jota coming back, and now you have Maeda playing in the central role.
Creative assist play is 9 times out of 10 the ball's in the right area for you to just do the last part, and that'll be helping.
But see, we always look at things through our own lens. How many times did the Japan squad get announced? Maeda would be in it, Kyogo wouldn't, and we would go, what's going on over there? How's that? And Kyogo's clearly a better striker. Maybe we need to broaden our horizons a little bit.
I think that every day when you talk about Maeda, the first thing you talk about is energy in this. That's so infectious, especially for a manager.
Yeah.
He looks as if he's low maintenance. Ask him to track back for a full game. He'll do it, no moaning. He'll naturally wants to get forward. That's why he's so good.
And he's got a naughty side to him as well, Something there, I like that.
A nasty streak.
Yeah.
I've also seen you two would like that. Is that why that must have been such a feel, and I know we've had games since, but such a feel-good result for Hibs, because it's not like this is a bad version of Celtic or a version of Celtic that you can easily get at. So for your current club to go and do something at the weekend must have been a real sort of achievement.
Yeah, the lads have been great. They've been on such a good run. And when you come up against Old Firm, you know how tough it's going to be. We knew, obviously the boys knew they were coming off the back of the 2 big games in the Champions League, and as you know, it can sap you mentally, especially the travelling. But they went really strong, and they've got, I think at half time they made 3 subs. So when you see that quality coming on, you know it's going to be a tough second half. But we've had some lads coming back for injury as well, and they've been great. So we're actually getting to a place where we're probably getting to our strongest point of the season with everybody fit. But the way we started the game was how you have to start against Old Firm. You really have to start well, and talk about confidence again because of the run that the lads have been on. I think it was a lot easier to start that way.
See how it was so tough at the start of the season from you being on the inside. How do you navigate that as a board, a management structure, to make sure that you know it's going to blow over? What?
I think the results at the start of the season at the club, I think there was 9 games we were leading in game and 1-1. So that was just
late on,
or even just winning in the game. You were up in the game 9 times, and I think we won one of those games. And a lot of that was maybe sending off a VAR call, individual error. So in football, you know that's going to turn. In terms of all the data stuff, we were always performing better than the results were showing. But the longer it goes, it's just so difficult to deal with. And then it's changed. The turning point, obviously, was the game against Aberdeen at Easter Road when Rocky Bashiri scores to go 3-3 in the last minute. And since then, obviously, this run's been exceptional. So
must give you confidence to go, the bigger picture thing is working.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I think over the last few years, the club's struggled to not perform. They got to the level which it would like to be at. And there's been a lot of change in the summer with the squad, and there will be again this summer. But we felt as if we were in a place in the summer where the squad could compete at the top end of the league, and at this moment in time, it's proven to be that. But coming off the back of that tough start it was important just to remain calm, and I think we're seeing the benefits in that now.
It is incredible, isn't it? That, I mean, the consistency. That Rocky Bashiri goal is going to be, well, to be fair, Aberdeen have now started to come back a bit, but that's like going to be one of the biggest turning points of the season, because it sent you on the up and it sent Aberdeen spiralling down, and now Hearts are on the up as well. It's
heating up. I think look anywhere other than the very top of the table, it's really tight.
It's getting to that stage of the season now. The closer you get to that split, it's just it's so close. But over the next couple of weeks, I think you'll see gaps appearing and the league taking more of a shape.
Because there were some massive results last night. You look at Michael Vimmer's first home game in charge of Motherwell. I think if they were to lose that to Dundee, you know for sure you're definitely in a relegation battle. Now, it's not to say that they're not now because they won one game.
But it does look
it was
much
massive,
better,
wasn't it, last night?
Yeah, it does. The biggest losers over the games in the last couple of days has been Dundee. Everything that could go against them has, in terms of big results.
Teams round about them.
Yeah,
so on.
and St Johnstone beating Ross County last night just tightens that up. It's down to three, 4 points. So for us in the side, it's really entertaining.
It's going to be extremely tight. Do you look at Dundee as being a bit of a worry now then on the back of that? Or
I think the manager just wants a result, of whether it be a draw, play rubbish, but just stop this. Like we've spoke about, Aberdeen, Hibs at the start of the season, Hearts at the start of the season, you just need something to break the routine of poor results.
what's been the key though, David, when you look at Hibs? I know you said you felt like it wasn't necessarily going terribly anyway because there were games you led in and so on, but what do you think's been the one thing that's really driven this upturn?
Confidence is a huge thing. Obviously, the team changed shape, and I think that two up front and the back three that we've had is proven to be an important decision by the manager. But I think just a bit of luck, to be honest, and a bit of confidence. I think we fully believe in the summer that there was a squad put together that could compete and get into that top six where Hibs always should be. But yeah, we've had a bit of luck in recent games as well. So we no means know that you're not going to lose football matches. Well, obviously know that's going to happen. But the confidence, I think the fans can see how much effort and character and commitment is in the team, and I think that comes from the manager and the coaching staff. So yeah, listen, that goal to go 3-each Aberdeen's been a huge moment, but to then go and back that up away at Motherwell with a 3-0 victory, I think spoke volumes for the team. And I think that the manager's been outstanding in the full season. Obviously it's his first full season as Hibs manager, but I think he's been so consistent regardless of results, and I think he's stuck by the players after a tough start, and I think he's reaping the rewards of that way. All the players been fully behind him.
Johan, how do you look back on sort of coming out of coaching, and do you want to get back in? How do you view it all now?
No, I don't want to get back in. No, I watch a lot of football. I work with analysing a lot of games for a Swedish company. That's obviously the big leagues, but I follow Celtic. I watch all the Celtic games all the time. I follow the SPL as well, just by interest, and it's been a funny season. It's not much between the two teams, but between the teams. It's just this is going to be the worst time to lose confidence and lose form, for a lot of teams. But it's been. What was more impressed me by Hibs is beating Celtic and then coming up with a result. Yeah. Because, putting in so much against the old firm and against Celtic, and beating them, and then, a couple of days later go out and perform again, against the team that you maybe are expected to win. That shows a lot of character for me,
Coming from behind as well.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
What is it about coaching that doesn't light the fire?
No, I love coaching. If I look back at it, I really loved being assistant to Neil. 4 years at Celtic, and then we were at Bolton for a year. Bolton had some financial troubles, so we couldn't really build our team there. So I moved back, to the family in Sweden, and it was difficult, and it was different, being used to Celtic being such a massive club, and having everything at your disposal, and very, very good players to work with. Then coming back, working with in the second and third division in Sweden, which were where I started again, as a number one. It was tough. It was tough, and I felt I didn't really have the desire, which you have to work 24 hours, 24/7, and I maybe because I obviously had this really, really poor knee as well, so I couldn't really show them out on the pitch, so I had to be more of a manager, just, telling my coaches what to do, with the players. and obviously losing my temper because of aching pain in my knee and my body, you know. But it was difficult. It was hard when I felt that this is just difficult, you know. This is different, you know. They don't really have the same mentality as I used to have.
Was it difficult when Celtic came to an end?
You know, not really, you know, because we jumped on Bolton and started working in the Championship, which is, you know, it's a tough league, you know, and they were rock bottom when we arrived, and we had an impact straight away, you know. We saved them the first season, you know, but then finding out that they didn't have any financial means, you know, to strengthen it was difficult, you know. So we knew more or less this is going to be really tough, you know, to save them. So, but moving back to Sweden. And it took me a while to cut the cord, you know, to understand, no, I should have stayed in UK. I should have stayed where I was. And I really enjoyed being assistant. That was great, you know. So maybe being number one wasn't for me, you know, even if I felt that in Sweden I should be number one.
See, from me, thinking back to being a coach and a manager, I think, as you said there, you need to have that passion. It needs to be a project that you're all in on, because it's so consuming, whether it be in a sporting director role, coach's role, it's so consuming. You need to love it to do it, and sometimes you can be in a job that if you don't have that same feeling, you're sitting reflecting, thinking, is it worth it? Is it not?
I suppose that leads actually to David as well, because so if you look at that trio that the Scotland fans were able to enjoy for so long, you, Craig Gordon, Alan McGregor. Craig Gordon's still going. I don't know if he's putting the rest of you to shame. I don't know how that works.
See him on Sundays.
You've got Alan McGregor who's now back. He's got the sort of coaching hat on. And you've taken a different. Remind us, what's the job title again?
Technical Performance Director.
Right.
So however you want to make that work.
So is that just ultimately you just see more that type of path rather than a coaching role?
Yeah, I'd never really had the coaching, but like Naisy says, we spoke previously, but you have to have, for me, you have to be totally obsessed by it. If you want to be a coach, you want to work in academy, you want to be first team, you want to be sporting director, it's all consuming. It's 24/7, and whatever path you want to go on in football, it's like that. It's not a normal. There's not normal hours. It's not a 9 to 5. It's just relentless. So the last couple of weeks of the season, I helped Dave out with being the goalkeeping coach when Nick Montgomery and his staff had left. But yeah, I wanted to move into the kind of back end of the football club. Did my masters in Manchester the last few years, so that's the path I've chose. Fortunate probably that when I decided to retire, that Malcolm Mackay came in as sporting director, and obviously gave me that opportunity to go in with him.
Any other big names on that course? Is that a more common path now that people look in that?
Yeah,
kind of
there's
direction?
a few courses, and some of the PFA is really helpful in that regard in terms of the education. There's more football-based ones that a lot of the ex-players go on. Mine's wasn't so much. There was 2 or 3 players on it, and then there's
anyone would know
a number of. Chris Maxwell was at Hibs goalkeeper for a while. Was at Blackpool, but apart from that, it was more
non-football.
Yeah,
type, right.
It's more like with header cricket,
All right,
performance, rugby, operations department, football club. So it wasn't solely just focused on football. It wasn't aimed at players as such. I spoke to Davy Weir at Lens before Davy had done it, and it was during COVID when obviously everybody was kind of stuck in their houses. So it's always something that interested me, and the course was great.
I found it tough when I retired to find, right, what route are you taking, because you've got no experience. I've said before, you no experience of that. I remember going into coaching a couple of months in, I went home every day like, I'm not sure this is for me, just because you feel so uncomfortable. Have you felt that going into the role you have, or has it been easier because you've not constantly having to deal with players, and if that makes sense, day to day?
Yeah, you question yourself. I mean, we left school at 16 to play football for over 20 years. So you've got that. You can question yourself, but everybody's in the same boat. I think it helps to have. I'm not sure if you, as a young manager, had people you could pick up the phone to, almost a mentor type. And Malky's been great for me. He's brought me and Ian Gordon as well. The owner's been great, giving me that opportunity. So I felt as if it's been quite an easy transition, challenging obviously at times, and you're obviously inexperienced in the role. But also I think with the manager was the first team coach when I was a player there. I think it's been a little bit easier for me in terms of that.
Did you see Alan McGregor as the coaching type?
definitely didn't. I can understand why Barry brings him in, because his association with the club. He's, again, talking about that desire and saying this is what it takes to play with Rangers. You're probably not getting somebody who's more blunt, more Ranger minded than the goalie. So I can understand it, but I don't think he ever shown in any time you would speak as a player. He would never be with somebody that's like.
No, I think Johan touched on it there when you spoke about you were at Celtic and like you played at Celtic. You were obviously a legend there, and you go in and that's your level almost. I think for Alan, and this is just me speaking, how I see it. I think he would like to get in at that level. I think it's an amazing opportunity because it's very rare that you'll get that. You have to. Any walk of life, especially in football, you have to work your way up. But he's probably underripe with his career, and he knows exactly what it takes to be in there, to go in it. To go in at first team level is an amazing opportunity, and it might just spark him into being that obsessive coach that I think you have to be to make it work.
There's no many things in day-to-day life as players give you that feeling when you're a player that Saturday you win. Even when you're in the midst of it, so much adrenaline it takes through you. Probably for somebody like Riggsy, and when you go out it and you do have that you miss that feeling. So as you say, he probably has that wee spark. I think you could see that in Fergie last night when the goals were going in.
Yeah.
I'll eat this. I think this is good.
That's the good feeling. Because we actually, Stilian Petrov was on last week and he said something that kind of stuck with me about your standards change forever, really, once you've been at Celtic or been at Rangers, and that then just becomes your bar for everything thereafter. Is that something you kind of recognise then, and similar to the guys we're speaking about, you get to go in at that level, having played at that level, and you get to go in at that level as well as
it does, definitely. And what it really teaches you in life, being a player for the old firm, for Celtic and Rangers, is definitely, I played with really, really good players. They couldn't really... they cut it as players, but mentally they couldn't take it that you had to win every single game. It doesn't matter if you travel up to Inverness, they score in the first minute and it's raining sideways, it's horrible weather, and the tactics doesn't work. Then you can't listen to the manager. Then you have to be in a really good squad, in a group to try to change it. You need to win it. You need to find a way to win the games. That's just the way it is. So mentally, it's tough. Even if people on the outside, there's a lot of outside noise, from the media, from supporters that, you should win every match because obviously, you earn so much more money than the rest of the players. But sports is not like that, If you concede the first goal against anyone in the SPL, you're in for a tough night, especially away from home. So you need to be very, very strong and resilient mentally, I think. And it teaches you if you do it right. Because we all have had tough times, being at clubs, but you need to ride through it. You need to show character, and if you do that, I think you can survive anything in life. It's a really great school.
I agree with
being a player at the old firm. So, but to really answer your question was. Being a player was brilliant. It was absolutely fantastic. I've never really got the buzz in the same way being a manager or being a coach, Even if I loved being a coach at Celtic, and at Bolton, because I worked with top level players, And I remember when we found, Van Dijk. He's the best player I've ever worked with, And you look at him now, he's maybe one of the best defenders in football, for a number of years. So... It was really a privilege to work with so many good players at Celtic, So when I moved back, and this is a really, really good topic in a way. When I moved back working with Swedish players in the second division, third division, that was hard, that was tough. And I have to criticize myself.
You need to be creative to get the best out of them.
I didn't do a good enough job because I didn't have that passion for 24 hours a day to really work with them, because I knew most of them, they wouldn't become really good footballers,
You mentioned the top players you played with, coached with. What do you remember about this young man, as he would have been at the time, coming through?
Oh, he's grown a lot since I... No, I was just thinking since I saw him, but I was... no, I remember so well, because I knew... I was on my way, knowing mentally that I would never be able to play at this level anymore, because I had such a big struggle with my knee, but I was still, traveling with the squad, to Barcelona away, where obviously you had your breakthrough. And
one good game, Johan.
No, it wasn't one good game, but that game is just incredible. You know, I just remember that game. You know, it was just something with Barcelona and myself, because I had the luxury to be assistant when Fraser Foster had this unbelievable, nearly as good, you know, as you had, you know, against Barcelona 2012, you know. But yes, that game.
Make him pick what was better out of Fraser Foster's performance.
I would say the same. You know, they were they saved everything. They had probably the game of their lives. You know, obviously. He needs to tell us if it was the best game he's ever had. But it was just incredible, 2004, you know, and you know, against a very, very good Barcelona, Ronaldinho, he was just incredible.
I remember at the time, because you were still only 21 Scotland at that time.
My memory's terrible, so you're probably...
So,
this doesn't bode well.
I remember thinking, going into the game, Barca were that good that everybody's like, this is going to be a cricket score. This is... In your mind, were you going into that game going, I can hold my own here? Or were you like as concerned, or what were your feelings?
Well, we got the 1-0 at home because they were down to 9 men and we were down to 10, so we were 1-0 up at home. So I always thought, well, we had Henrik, so you can, as a Celtic player at the time, you always kind of thought Henrik will score anyway, so we'll nick one. But I think, like, if you're realistic, the expectation is you're going to lose to Barcelona in Nou Camp. But yeah, it just worked out just incredible. Like, good start, a kind of early save when they're probably an easy chance that the boys should have scored. And then from there, I think big John Kennedy has a massive block early in the game. And then I think it's probably overblown the game because I was 19 and just chucked in. Because it wasn't like, I think the Fraser Foster game you speak of, I think he had probably like 10, 12 saves. I had like 3-4 saves in the game. But like, you were under the cosh, but we defended like,
cannot believe he's talking that down.
Genuinely,
knowing how you go out into games in your mind and what you're thinking, and you're like, right, like you said, make a good save. I presume that would have been a big moment for you to calm you.
It just can't.
And then does an enjoyment come during the game?
No, not really. No. The only enjoyment I got for that was
Full-time
when it was like 10 seconds to go and somebody kicked in the corner and Stephen Pearson ran into the corner flag, and I was like that. I knew it was done. Yeah. So I was like, I knew it was
the relief
done,
and enjoyment,
and then the relief, and then it was just an incredible night. And
especially the way the chance comes about to get in. What's that like? Because obviously, as goalies, certain things really need to happen for you to get an opportunity. So,
especially at that club at Celtic, it's very rare that goalies get their opportunity there. Rab gets sent off half time, and then Terry Geno, the goalie coach at the time, just comes out the tunnel and gives it one of them.
What is going through your head at that point?
I just turned around to like one of the, obviously the sub that he's talking to behind me, because obviously an outfield player was going at half time, and he's like, nah, like, you. And I was like, oh, interesting. I thought I'd maybe been needed in there, because I was always like the when I was like 15, 16, 17, I used to go with Clarkey and do all the kit, because I was a Glasgow boy, so I used to do all that, so I would always kind of help out, so I didn't even know, and then we come in, and then
you thought you were going to get new socks?
No, but I was just like, tell Mike I needed something, tell Mike I needed me to do something for Rab, or Mike I needed something, do you know what I mean? So, and then you get in there, obviously you find out
great story
what's happened, and then you've not really time, you just got on with it, and then you go out second half and probably half the stadium thinking, who's that?
Just imagine that. You think you're going in to like move a hamper or like
clear some socks away,
get Rab's gloves or something.
And what's probably a bigger credit to you is that you stayed in the team over a period. Like, some young goalies do get thrown in, you have your couple of games and then you're out. But it's at the Old Firm, there's no much.
Do you think it helped having no time to think about it then? I mean, in my head, because I'm not an elite athlete, that sounds absolutely terrifying, but maybe, you know what I mean, maybe if you're told the night before you're playing against Barcelona, and I know you did eventually.
Definitely. I think they were down to 9 men and we had 10, so the second half was relatively comfortable anyway, and then you've got the return leg in a week or two, so you're thinking what's going to happen. We had Dundee, I think, a couple of days later at Dens, so the manager played me. Magnus was on loan in Italy, Magnus Hedman at the time, so I just assumed up until the day we were flying to Barcelona that the gaffer would just recall Magnus, to be honest. And nothing was really said. And then turned up at the airport and Magnus wasn't there, so I was like, happy days, we've got to fly.
That's the wee bits of luck you spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
Things just fall into place for you, definitely.
Exactly.
We spoke about the role you're in at the moment. What does that look like aspirationally? You know, would you want to become? Is it a, you know, a kind of football director of football at a big club?
Yeah, that as I say, I did the master's degree in the sporting directorship. So ultimately, that would be just that side of the game is something in clubs that interest me. I think it's as a coaching and a managerial can be a precarious job. So you'd like to think it's a bit more longevity and building things behind the scenes would be great. So for me to go in this role this season, obviously in the background and certainly learning from a number of people at the club has been great. So yeah, that would be the long term goal.
He's going to some lengths to prove that goalies aren't daft. Honestly, like, that's
I've
all
spent
this
a good
is.
bit of time with Marsh. Marsh is an intelligent guy.
Well, we had Griggsy, so I have to go on the other side of the fence.
Balance it up.
Yeah,
It's incredible. It really is. Do you ever have the chance to go back to Celtic as a player?
Not actual. Do you want to sign? There was a wee bit of chat. COVID time.
All right.
But it never really came to anything. But no, it was a strange time because I was at Wigan, and we went into administration, and then I think the season had maybe finished here. I think the season got cut here, and then we had went into admin, so it was basically all our lads were just leaving. So there's a little bit of chat there, but no, nothing concrete.
This is a bit off track, but what is the best period of your career?
Time at Cardiff.
Yeah, Premier League.
Yeah, I think under Mjällby was manager at that point. First season we came in, we've got playoff semi-finals against West Ham. We knew we weren't strong enough to go up, really. We'd probably overachieved with getting playoffs, and then made Carling Cup final, and we just lost to Liverpool in penalties that day. And then second season, won the league comfortably. And we just had a really good squad. We were really settled. And then the Premier League, and then obviously Malky had left in January, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came in, and it was just too big a change. It was Malky had a way of playing, and we were settled for 2-3 years, and Ole came in, they were a very attacking style, which is fine, but to do that mid-season in the Premier League was too much for us. So I think we could potentially stayed up if we had that. Mm-hmm. Just continued that way and style of playing, but it was just too big a change in January, and ultimately ended up getting relegated. That's probably my most consistent spell.
I think you're right. He definitely is too sensible to be a goalie. Who's the maddest goalie you played with?
Griggsy.
It's just easy, is it? There's no debate to be had.
To be fair, Griggsy was a great teammate because at times he would be involved in the laugh and the joke, but see, the funnier thing was his brutally honest nature. So even some of the craziest times, like going through administration and the administrators are in, try to talk all proper and in their legal jargon, and Griggsy would just cut through them with one comment or one question or, no, that's no right, and just cut them. It was so funny.
So Rab Douglas, we spoke about other...
Rab was probably the calmest goalkeeper I've ever played with.
Was he,
Yeah.
Celtic never had mad goalkeepers.
No, Goldie wasn't, too...
Goldie was okay, yeah.
Until after
too
Boris
bad
came
either,
along.
you know. After. But I never played with after Boris, but I had a couple of Swedish ones. Magnus was... before his breakthrough, I played with him at AIK Stockholm, before he went to Coventry in Sweden and Celtic. He was really... his breakthrough was quite young. He was quite young, only, 19, 20, like... David here, he started to be the one who he probably changed clothes like cars like I changed clothes, and when he started to obviously become a wee bit famous, but he was a wee bit unmaddy, even if it's common today. But Rab was the calmest man around,
There we go. We're breaking new ground here. We're discovering that goalies are not as mad as everybody says. Good. Right, let's take a look at what we've got coming up this weekend, because we said earlier the big games come thick and fast, and of course they do. I mean, how huge, that is massive Dundee against St Johnstone now, isn't it, for reasons that we spoke about. Do you think the Barry Ferguson homecoming will have a bit of a kind of special feel about it? Because I think, obviously, the elephant in the room when the appointment's made is some Rangers fans are questioning, is it right? Could someone with more top-level managerial experience, but getting the reaction at Rugby Park and then going back to Ibrox, you expect that to be in the air?
Definitely. I think you've seen it at the end of the game. And I agree with you, when the appointment's made, people are throwing other names of saying they're better placed to be. But you can then, if this transpires or keeps going the way it is, it then becomes a good decision that they've made. But I expect Rangers to start fast. The stadium will be bouncing like it's not been for a while. So it's a big one for that aspect alone.
Yeah, see what Michael Vimmer can come up with heading to Ibrox for the first time. Ross County Kilmarnock again. It's just so tight, the league, David, isn't it? That portion of it's like we're in that real pressure on time of the season, aren't we?
Yeah, I think between now and international break, it's a huge few weeks for a lot of clubs there. Even if you look at the fixtures on Sunday, that's third, fourth, fifth, sixth playing all together. So there can be so much change there. But some huge fixtures.
Yeah, St Mirren, obviously, they'll be buoyed by their result at Ibrox, if not so much the one against Hearts, and they'll try and make life uncomfortable, I'm sure, for Celtic. Right, come on, this is where you two come into your own, the Edinburgh Derby. Let's get you two arguing with each other over the table. But great to have, like, it's two
informed teams, definitely. I think Hibs being... I found in a lot of derbies that I played, Edinburgh derbies, the pressure of the home crowd would play on the home team a lot of the time. It made it more difficult for the whole home team. This one, I don't see it that way. I think even in the last derby at Easter Road, Hibs take the lead, and then it was in the period they let that slip with a late goal, James Wilson goal. I think it's totally different now. I think Hibs will be going into it real confidence, but in the same respect, Hearts, I think, are in a much better place. They've got players coming. Callum Newhoff, for me, coming back is massive for them. Scores midweek. So I think it'll be a tasty derby.
Again, it must be so nice to get into these, because we always hear this, and we hear it with the Glasgow version and other versions, that form goes out the window, which is fine. But you'd obviously rather be in such a good place.
Yeah, well, the two of them are in a good place form-wise, the two teams at the minute. So, it bodes well for a fantastic game. I think Hearts have a good window as well, adding a few players that have made a difference. They look as if they're more dynamic, and as I say, form-wise, they're certainly in a good place. So, it couldn't be teed up better. I think it's good that both clubs are in good form and at the right end of the table. I think the last few games, I think probably both, maybe 11th and 12th, I think, when we were earlier in the season when they played each other. So
that's right. And there was all that talk. I remember the build-up. It might even have been on here as well, about like the last time they were both relegated and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's such a long season, but it's good that they're listening at the top of the form, both clubs. So it'll be a real spectacle. And these derbies, like Naisy said, they're special. They're obviously you talk about the old firm, but the pressure in Edinburgh and how big the game is, it's not lost in any of the players.
Mentioned Hearts window. Obviously, the Hearts fans and Neil Critchley are happy that Elton Kabangu scores goals, but to everybody else, I just like that Kabangu song they've got. You heard it?
Well, over the years, they had we had Tagawa last season, right, that was similar, so it's a catchy tune.
Song and changed the name.
It's a really catchy tune. Why let a good one go to waste?
Absolutely. No, it should be. It really is all set up. I think you wonder about the makeup of the top six currently, Johan, because it's so tight. So everyone's talking about how it can change, but Sunday alone, Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen, Dundee United, all in there. Celtic and Rangers are obviously in there. On paper, that kind of should be the top six. It very rarely works out that way. But you know what I mean, in terms of club size and so on, you just wonder if it can be upset from now until the split.
But it's going to be interesting to see Aberdeen, though. I have to say, I'm going to be as brave and bullish, maybe stupid to say, if they don't win this game, at home, because they need to come out. Yeah, I know they have a couple of wins under the belt now, but still, I was so surprised. I understood they would lose a wee bit of form, because it was just incredible what happened when Jimmy Taylin took over and they just won every single game, more or less. So a wee bit of loss of form, yes, but to just go on this run of defeats, just incredible. Because I didn't see much difference in the performances, really, Maybe it was just the confidence, I don't know. But I think this is a game they should win, at home, And I think the supporters are really, really banking on them to win it, So it's going to be interesting to see if they have got that character back and that winning feeling back, because Dundee United is not really in the best shape at the moment.
Did you ever have any dealings with Jimmy Taylin?
No, I know him a lot, because he became a coach early doors in his career. When he was 27, 28, he took over in Sweden, So he wasn't maybe the most prolific player. So he decided quickly, to become a manager. So he had a really good season with Elfsborg before signing for Aberdeen. They should have won the league before Malmö, but they lost in the last game. So the way he wants to play, yes, he's interested in possession, but it's not that important. It's more important to play with tempo and attack very, very quickly when you win the ball, So it looked like it was a good matchup to start with anyway, but obviously the results lately have been appalling.
I can't believe the way you've been treated. You put your hard graft in, bring in some baked goods, and someone still puts on the sheet that Stephen Naismith never won at Easter Road while a Hearts player. Just to remind you of that. But you did score.
I did score, yeah.
At Tynecastle. Was that a winner?
2-1, yeah.
How was that? What do you remember of it?
It was a header, Harry Cochrane free kick. I think I was actually just behind John McGinn. I've just given him the old nudge, and in front of him, header near post.
You got past the McGinn backside.
So,
Wasn't it that big back then?
I got to the wrong side of it before anything happened, so I got round there early and just made sure I was that side. But to be fair, I think for the Old Firm Derby and the pressure, the Edinburgh Derby has the same intensity, but obviously the players aren't as used to that level of pressure. So that was for me in their games the biggest thing. Who's got the intelligence, calmness to make the right decision in that game, rather than the safe, maybe knock the ball on or kick it forward or clear it out the park. Who's got the calmness? That inevitably won the Edinburgh Derby.
Good games to win, David. Was it the Kevin Nisbet 1-0?
1-0.
My first game as a manager.
Just to remind them.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're fantastic games. They're brilliant games and horrible games to lose. But the intensity in the city, it just builds up the full week, and it's both stadiums. The fans are so close. It's such, and I think with the Old Firm fans not being allowed at Old Firm games, I think it adds to the spectacle that the away fans are allowed in.
Yeah.
It can get naughty at times, but as players, every player after it is like blown away if they've never played in it before. So it's a real good fixture, and obviously the clubs are so close at the minute. Should be a cracker.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Plenty to look forward to. Let's look back a bit, because I don't know if you know this. Being on this show carries a great responsibility, because we, mostly you, have to pick the goal of the month. We actually get to decide. And let's take a look, because you've got some. I actually feel sorry for some of the people that didn't even make it into the top three. It was that good. But here's Corey O'Donnell, Stenhousemuir. How's that for a turn? Can he back it up with a finish? You happy with that? Get another wee look. Here's a turn. Miles out.
Good awareness to see the goalie just enough off his.
It's in central, I'm not sure.
Are you saying a goalie error?
Bit harsh.
Right, this is all about the team move, because this actually starts before this. It starts in the corner flag, doesn't it? With Jota, and he wriggles out.
That's a great goal.
Yeah,
Great team goal.
Yeah.
That is.
Does this touch ruin it? No, from the defender. He's still having. It's a great finish, isn't it? And it's very different goals. This is all about the touch. I mean, how?
I've seen that goal.
Because you know that cliche, right? That was the same weekend, wasn't it? Or week as Matoma at Brighton.
Yeah.
And people always go, oh, if that was X player, it would be getting shown everywhere. That is as good a.
That's a brilliant touch. Brilliant. And the calmness, they put it under the goalie.
Yeah.
I think that's really tough, because
Great finish.
There we've got
our only choices, yeah.
That's the shot.
The one that missed it, a big one that missed it, was
Keskin,
which this Dundee goal, great strike, but
the reason I like this three, because they're so different. So that one's all about the touch. Maeda is an amazing team move, and then a bit of a craft about the finish. Your first one's a nice turn in a long range. Take it away. What would you?
I'm going to go for Bobby Wales. I think the touch.
You like the touch? Okay.
I'm not going to disagree. I agree, actually. Even if I love Daizen Maeda's lob, because I didn't think he had that in his locker. If you look at a year ago, but that I like the calmness. Bobby Wales just putting it in. You can see that he's a natural goal scorer, and he does it in training a lot.
I think that's the hardest skill.
I agree. There isn't a chance when that ball's going forward. There's not a chance.
No.
Yeah,
he does the work to get the chance, and then he gets the reward of the goal.
That's a full house.
Love that.
It doesn't matter what I think, which is probably the best.
What
place
one
to
would
be.
you have picked?
Don't know. I was just going to be swayed by whatever you guys.
whatever Johan said.
I'm not arguing with him, exactly. Well, congratulations to Bobby Wales of Kilmarnock, who is the goal of the month winner. Be happy with that?
Yeah, I like it.
There we are.
Good
Right.
young Scottish striker.
It's time for the Rondo now. That is where we put you under a bit of pressure with 5 quick fire questions.
Ooh.
Who do you want to?
Just I'll take anybody.
Johan's scarier, so you can take him. Happy. I'll go David Marshall first. Clean sheet in the new camp or the penalty save against Serbia?
Serbia.
How good was it? Indulge me one more time. Seriously.
It was just, I think everything that go about the whole COVID thing, we hadn't qualified for so long. It was amazing. And then we had a lock-in in the hotel after it, which was probably even better than the penalty saves.
I loved the moment you save it, and then you're not even just fixated on brilliant. You've got that wee check. Is it all right? Is it all right?
He did speak to me before it, so it was the first penalty that could have ended the game. So he did say, "Listen, don't."
Did he?
He said, "Listen, don't celebrate before
Just in
because I
case.
think it's a check." And I just said, "How long?" He said, "Just 2 seconds." So I knew before the pen, because that was the first one on the night that could have ended the match. So that's why that happened. Kind of thing. But I had no idea if it was
Adds
on
to the
or-
memory though. Brilliant.
Like conga lining around the hotel and unbelievable.
Yeah, dragged up to the conga.
You know, he seems quite low key.
I made the most of it.
How did you end up as a goalie? Any inspiration growing up?
I used to love goalies, watching up like Peter Schmeichel, David Seaman, even Tim Flowers back at Blackburn. I went for a trial with Celtic when I was 9. I actually answered a Evening Times ad in the paper. You remember Parkhead? There used to be a school on the right-hand side. Used to park.
Yeah.
So my first trial was in I can't remember the name of the school. That's not there anymore.
That's right,
it's just
yeah.
a car park. So that was my trial, was a goalie down there. There was like 50 goalies.
Showing your age. That's an advert in the paper.
Advert
It's no
in the
online.
Times.
In a building that's
Under
not
10s.
there anymore.
In a building.
In the school.
In the school, it was that.
Like the
how
game?
you get the bench, you turn the bench down.
Hold on a minute. David
It would have been
Marshall,
easy to save that. You just use your
That was
feet.
brilliant.
Serbia and Nou Camp penalty heroes. Celtic trial was against a bench in a games hall.
Yeah, well, it was
Again,
like it was a trial for the whole under 10.
That's amazing.
So when you turn up, there's 250 lads there. So there's like 30 goalies,
so good.
100 midfielder, and it just you were just
Lined
kind of brought in and played. And
brilliant.
that was the beginning.
That's great. I love it. What would you have been? What would you have been if you weren't a footballer?
I would like to think I'd have been a PE teacher or something in sport, but I just was not accepting that I wasn't going to be a footballer, so I never ever thought about it.
Not a baker like you.
When I was 15, I wasn't thinking about being a baker. I was like Marsh, just thinking about playing.
Best striker you've faced in training and the game?
I'd have to say Henrik by a country mile. And he actually went to Barcelona and scored against me for Barca. That was Alan Thompson's shot back pass, remember? So blame Tomo for that one. But no, Henrik was like world class. I think it's very rare, if at all possible, that the Old Firm keeps like a world class striker in their prime for so long.
Was he like that in training? Like finishes in training, world class as well? Because you get some players that training is training and they just turn it on a game. So he was that good.
He was phenomenal for me. Johan will even know him a lot more than me, but like
Oh, he was.
Yeah.
He's the best player I've ever played with.
incredible.
There's no question about that. But it wasn't just because of his goals and all that. It was his work rate
Intelligence.
off the ball and his intelligence, yes. How to press the other team, because he started pressing. He started out defending, and he was so good at it. So I just felt so sorry for him, after the final in the UEFA Cup,
Yeah, I've never
scoring
seen
2
somebody
goals
so
and then
upset.
we were too clumsy at the back,
Ever tell you that? Does he ever say that to you?
After a couple of glasses of wine, yeah.
And one word to describe Craig Gordon, one word to describe Alan McGregor.
One word. Craig Gordon would be immortal, I would imagine.
Quite like that, okay.
Alan McGregor. Just mad.
Mad. There we go. I'm seeing a bit of a theme developing here. Right, you're on to Johan Mjällby.
Who would be in your manager dream team? Your management dream team? Who's your setup?
So if you can be
Oh,
you're an
yeah,
assistant to
name.
someone then.
Assistant song. I would
People that maybe you played under or worked with.
Yeah. I would definitely be. Stefan Schwarz would be the head guy. Then myself, assistant, and then we're going to bring in Jaap Stam as well. That's going to be 3 really, really tough physical guys.
Bad cop.
That
bad
wants
cop,
to play
bad cop.
really attractive football.
He said he was 2 bad cops earlier and we're now on to 3.
Now we're down to 3. If you're a superhero, what would you be? Who would you be?
Superhero. I would be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I thought it would be more of a destroyer than someone so agile, but okay, that's fine.
Bodysuit. The bodysuit.
Exactly.
How much can you bench? Well, I've actually been looking all day.
Now
You're in some shape.
I'm 54 years old.
Still in great
No,
shape.
I could bench once. Once I could, when I was in my prime, I could bench 140. But I wouldn't be able to be close to that nowadays. No, I'm too old. I'm losing muscle.
What trophy that you won meant most to you?
I say, and that was 3 trophies. It was the treble. When we won the treble, after so many years, Celtic hadn't won the treble for nearly a lifetime, and for me, being part of Celtic means you have to win titles. So winning a treble and all the domestic titles it was special.
So see when you win the 2, so you win the double, did you have that feeling of just we're going to get the treble, or did it have the opposite of it'd be great to do the treble, but
No, I would say before we did it, and you had 2 titles, you dream of it. You feel you can touch it, and you nearly put the pressure on you. You should do it, but that's not. It's not easy to win titles. It's not easy to win games, really. But you have to do it. But winning, I think it's even if. It looks like it's been a bit of inflation now because Celtic's been winning a lot of trebles, lately. But that is maybe because of the struggles that the other team on the other side of the city has been gone through as well, But back then when we played, there was 2 really, really strong teams. There was no question about that, 2 teams that could do well in Europe, but sometimes we were struggling, especially away from home. But I felt it was... being, a part of a Celtic, I can only speak about Celtic. You have to win titles, you have to win trophies, and to get used to it is a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling, and it just embraces you. And just now, when you're getting old and you look back at your career, is what I remember. I remember the trophies. I remember the parties, afterwards, and that's it's just a joy, thinking back of it.
Last question: biggest name in your phone book?
Biggest name?
Yeah. Not length. Biggest profile.
Yeah. Oh, profile-wise. Wow. No, because we are in Scotland, I would say probably Henrik Larsson. Yes, definitely, I mean, for me, it's the best player I've played with. I'm not saying that. And for me, it was great. I mean, he's mega big here. He's a mega star. But for me, it was special when he had a chance to, after Celtic, just prove to everyone around the world. Because it was a wee bit of that I didn't like in Sweden when we played for the national team. Henrik is just scoring goals because he plays for Celtic. I said, no. Yeah. I train with him every day. He's absolutely brilliant, And so it was great, that he's got a bigger recognition when he went to play for Barcelona and Man United,
exactly.
When he was more or less, 36, 37, and they wanted him to stay there, So, no, fantastic play. Henrik Larsson, I say, yeah.
Okay, I think that is us. Enjoyed that. Thank you very much. Good co-pilot, and even better that you've produced the goods. We are about to go
demolish them
and eat the Big Bear Bakery goods that Stephen Naismith was involved in. But thank you to 2 top guests, David Marshall, Johan Mjällby.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you keep liking and subscribing, and we will see you next time on The Warm Up.